Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Class 47 Peter YouTube channel. And we're now in a new year. It's almost hard to believe. So to kick off the model railway content for 2022, I'm going to be taking a look at the Heljan Class 25. Was this model worth buying? Well, that's what we're going to find out. Heljan first released the Class 25 in O gauge, and then in 2018 Heljan announced the 25 in double O gauge, and last year in 2021 the double O gauge 25 was released. I think it was released around March time, if I remember rightly. The reason I didn't get one right there and then is because just before they came onto the market, or I think it might have been just as they were coming onto the market, that's when Sutton's came out and announced their version of the 25, which I did place a pre-order for, but that model isn't coming out until well into this year. So rather than waiting that long for a Class 25, I decided to cancel that pre-order and go for a Heljan one instead. And here it is, it's just arrived. The version I've gone for is D7672 Tamworth Castle in the BR two-tone green in the 1990s Railtour condition. Now, by the time I came to buy one of these, there weren't very many left. In fact, there were only 2 retailers that had this particular Class 25 in stock. Both of them only had one left. This particular one I bought came from Hatton's. So we're going to get this model open and we're going to see what it looks like and how good this model is. I've seen it in the pictures and in some video footage and it does look stunning, but we're going to see if the photos tell 1,000 words or whether looks can be deceitful. So here we have the model down on the layout, and I have to be honest, there are a couple of admissions. The first one was, because this model wasn't opened prior to me unboxing it to have a check on it, I noticed that one of the headlights on the front there wasn't fitted in properly. So I just got my finger and just pushed it in, and that sorted it out. So I didn't really need to send it back over that. It was an easy fix for me to do. The other thing was as well, when I first ran this model it was a bit stiff. It wasn't a very smooth runner, but then after I'd say at least 15-20 minutes of running in both directions, she's eased up, and now she's a beautiful runner and absolutely smooth mechanism as well, as you can see here. And bearing in mind, because this model has been on the shelves in its box for some months now, it's not like it's fresh from the factory. Whereas even if any new model obviously does benefit from running in, a model like this that's been sat on the shelves for as long as it has is more beneficial for it to be ran in because of how long it's been on the shelves. So if you do go out and buy one of these and you find it's a bit stiff at first, don't just send it back. Let the model be ran in. If it eases up like mine has, then that's great. If it doesn't, then that's when I'd send it back and I'd get another one. Moving on to the model itself, however, the model arrived safely. There was no damage done to the model, no detail bits that broke off, they had to be glued back on again. All the detail parts are there, they're present and correct, so that's great. And after running in, the model runs brilliantly. Also, we have working lights on this model as well. In the forwards direction you have the headco box lights up, as do the headlights on the front. You also have the tail lights, which they only really come on when it's running light engine, not when it's pulling a train. You also get interior lighting as well in the cab, which again, as per prototypical, depending on the direction of travel, you'd have the headlights on, they wouldn't be lit at both ends. So now we can move on to the detail. So first of all we have sprung metal buffers. Not that I have any care for sprung buffers, but they're there anyway. And they are painted plain black, which with this locomotive, on the one end, based on the research I've been doing, they later had, when it was first outshopped, it had white embellishments around the buffers, which are white trims that go around the outside of the buffers. But looking at it from footage, because there is some footage of this real locomotive on the main line on rail tours, and also looking at it in photos, the white embellishments were only on the one end of the loco. Why that was the case in real life I don't know, but that's what they did. Also on the one end they were later painted silver towards the end of its working life with BR. Because this locomotive was the last Class 25 to be in service with British Rail. And it was used on rail tour duties. And it first became a celebrity when it got painted into the ice cream van livery, which is BR blue with the large yellow ends. And then later on, for when it was running in the early 90s, it ran in this livery, which this loco never carried the BR two-tone green livery previously. So it then also became a celebrity loco in both cases. What I also love about the buffers as well is that these parts of the buffers have been left in a silver colour, as they would be in real life. And I do quite like that. That's a nice little touch to have. As you can see, most of the buffer beam detail has already been pre-fitted for you on both ends. Now, while this is good to see, because fitting all this can be a pain sometimes, it can also, fitting it on both ends, have its own problems, because if you put the NEM couplings on, they can catch on it. So you might find, regardless whether you choose to have the couplings in both ends or the one under the loco, you might find that you have to cut some of the pipework detail down, or maybe even remove the screw link coupling from the buffer beam. On the face of the loco we have separately fitted lamp irons. You also have a separately fitted handrail. You also have warning signs as well. And you've also got the shed plate 55A, crisply printed just on the front there. You've got glazing in all the cab windows. We also have separately fitted window wipers, and they've been painted as well. And in the head code box on this end we have a train reported number 1M09, and that's very well applied and very realistic looking as well. The detail in the cab interior, you can just about see that some of it has been painted. It is hard to see, especially on camera, but some of it has been picked out and painted, and I think that looks stunning. You can also see we have some rivet detail as well on the cab side windows, on the frames. Moving to the cab doors, as you can see we have separately fitted handrails and painted as well. You've also got the grille here as well on the side of the loco, and just look at the rivet detail on that just around the grille, and that grille is etched metal grille as well. It's not moulded, and that looks superb. Moving on to the sides of the body, as you can see we have glazing in the body side windows. You've also got these bits of detail here which are painted just like they were on the real locomotive. You've also got the nameplates, which they're just printed on. You don't get any etched ones supplied with the model, but I'm sure you can find etched nameplates from elsewhere. But the printed nameplates though, there's still something to admire, because the printing detail on it is excellent. And you've also got another warning sign as well, crisply applied on the body sides. Now just have a look at all the detail that's been applied on the bogies. You can just about make out the footsteps, which are separately fitted. You've also got the axle boxes that are painted yellow. You've got the springs on the bogies, which are painted white. You've got the white wheel walls, and you've also got pipework on the bogies that's been painted in a white colour, and on the frames of the bogies we have these orangey yellow embellishments, which is correct to the real locomotive. So it's good to see that all this detail that's been painted on the model has been captured as per the real locomotive, and I think all that painted detail looks stunning. You don't get any holes in the wheels like the real locomotives, so the rivet counter might argue that detail should be there. Fair enough, it should be there, but to be honest, in real life, a lot of the time you can't really see that detail. If you're in a siding or on a shed on a heritage line and you're up close to the loco, then that's where you probably might notice that detail on the wheels. But when the locomotive is running, if you stood on a platform or on a line side spot somewhere, you're not really going to see that bit of detail. And as in the case with the model, you can only see that detail when it's static, not when the model is running on the layout. So, in hindsight, do we really need that bit of detail to be there on the wheels? I don't know. You tell me what you think. Also, this locomotive is fitted with the short range fuel tank, which is correct to the real D7672. And also, we have a fuel tank dial. And just look at the detail on that. I mean, I think that looks stunning. Moving on to the detail on the roof, we have the exhaust port, which you could weather if you wanted to make it look like all the claggers come out of that. I don't personally tend to bother with that, but it's there if you want to do it. But the detail on the exhaust port looks stunning. We've also got the grills on the roof there, painted black. They look really nice. And then you have the roof fan with the grill. The grill on top of that, the detail on that looks stunning in my opinion. The fan is separately fitted and it is there and it has been painted. It doesn't rotate, but to be quite honest, it doesn't really need to. Certainly for not to be a great model. And then you have that plate there on the roof that's been separately fitted. The detail on the roof really is stunning. It really does have to be said that Heljan really have captured the look of the prototype spot on. I mean, I've studied the photographs of the real locomotives, and also I've seen Class 25s in real life as well. For those of you that watch my real railway videos, whether it's on heritage lines or on the main line, whichever, you know, I've seen them as well, and this model compares very well to the real thing. One thing I did notice, however, in the photos, especially with this locomotive, is that there should be some white pipework detail just under here. In the photographs that I've been studying, there's pipework detail just here, just under the cab on this side, and on the other side of the loco, on the other end, it's also there. It's not present on this model, but what you could do, if you were fussed by that, is maybe make some scratch build it. Either if you have a 3D printer, you could 3D print that detail, I suppose, or make it from scratch out of wire or something. Also, just under the body, as you can see, we have got some very nice pipework detail. Now, I'm not sure if it's moulded or separately fitted, but it's there and it has been painted. On the other end of the loco we have train reporting number 1E11, so it's different on this side as it is on the other, so that's nice to see, two different train reporting numbers as it would be on the real locomotive. Again, all the detail on the other end is there and present. Separately fitted window wipers, separately fitted handrail, separately fitted lamp irons, and again sprung metal buffers, and all the buffer beam detail is all there. Moving on to the livery application, and I really like the BR two-tone green livery. The reason I chose this livery is because I don't own very many models in this livery, and I think it's a stunning livery. I think every loco that carried this livery suited it, in my opinion. The livery's been very nice and evenly applied. There's no imperfections or blemishes anywhere at all. The colours are present and correct. And also you have the BR light crest, crisply applied on the body sides, as well as the loco's running number, D7672. Correct style numerals as well as the crisply applied builder's plate. Now, it's not very often I tend to talk about the accessory parts that you get with the models, but these are some details that I thought were worthy of mentioning, and that's the snowplows that you get with the model, which this loco in this livery in real life did have. The only thing I would say about these snowplows is that they did in real life have white embellishments on them. On these ones supplied by Heljan they don't, but that's not a problem because I can sort that out myself. Now, what I love about these snowplows is that it's not one moulded piece that's designed to fit into an end pocket like what Batman supply, which is unrealistic because the snowplows are not attached to the bogies. In the case with these, they're actually designed to fit under the buffer beam, as you can see with those holes there. So they're actually designed to just slot under the buffer beam. And also, with these snowplows, this middle section here, you can still cut that out and still attach these onto the model, the actual plows themselves. So that way, you've still got the end pocket there, so you can fit a coupling of your own choice. And I think that's a brilliant design by Heljan, that is. So, top marks to Heljan for that one. So the verdict on this model: is this model worth buying? Absolutely. I mean, this model really is stunning. It's got superb detail, it runs absolutely smoothly, and it's just an overall fantastic model. Eventually there will be Batman's new Class 25 and the Sutton's 25 coming onto the market, so that gives you a choice of 3 retail Class 25s to choose from. So it's probably a case of choosing whichever one that you want. Do I recommend the Heljan one? Absolutely. If you want a Class 25 on the lathe, then I would absolutely recommend the Heljan model. Well, it's up to you. You could either wait for Batman's model to come out or the Sutton's 25, but I would recommend the Heljan model because it is a great model. Regardless of the fact it needed to be ran in, that's not really an issue. That's something that does happen. You will find, especially if a model like this has been sat on the shelves for a long period of time, it will need running anyway. And that little minor thing with the headlight, having to sort that out, I can let that slip, to be honest with you. So, highly recommend this model. Whichever livery you get it in, doesn't matter. It's a fantastic model all round. So definitely well worth buying. So whenever you next get some pennies, this might be a model for you to consider. So as always with these videos, I'm going to end the video with a running session. So I'll be getting this locomotive pulling a rake of Mark 1 coaches. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you've enjoyed. As ever, if you like what you see, do subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and while you're at it, don't forget to check out all my other videos that I have on the channel. But until then, I'll see you next time. Take care. Ta-ra. Now, before we do go into the running session, which I have already filmed, there is a couple of things I do want to talk about in regards to fitting the snowplows, which I have fitted to my model because the real locomotive wore the snowplows. Now, first things first, I have done, I've put the white embellishments on the plows, as per the real ones on the real locomotive. Now, do be careful that you don't have any gaps in the rails. I've had to do it on my layout in some areas because with the layout being in a metal shed during the summer, it will get hot and the track will just buckle basically. So do be careful that the plows don't catch on the rail, in the gaps on the rails. What I had to do was I had to bring the plows forward slightly by lifting them up a little tad. Not that it matters really, because at the end of the day I can still run the model with the plows on and it doesn't really detract from the look. It's only slightly, so you can't really notice it that much. The other thing is as well, if I just spin the model round to the other end. Now, if you are going to fit the plows on both ends, what you might have to do, like I've done, is make a modification to the plows. I've had to cut them down quite a bit, because without doing that, the coupling just catches on the plows and it just... either the magnets just pull apart and the stock just gets uncoupled, or they derail. So I have had to cut the plows down quite a bit. Not that it matters too much, because you're never going to really see this end most of the time anyway. And I have still got the plows fitted to the model, which you can still see when the model is running. and it's just enough so that basically the coupling can swing about a lot more, so that the stock behind it doesn't derail or get uncoupled. And again, I've put the white embellishments on the ploughs on this end, so it still keeps that detail as well. And it might not necessarily be a brilliant thing having to modify these ploughs, but to be honest, I don't think there's much that can be done about that. I mean, if you're going to fit them on both ends, you either just fit them on the one end, or if you do fit them on both ends, then it's a modification that you have to do. But it's still a better design than having the ploughs fit into an M socket on the bogies.